Hello learners! How are you today? I hope we're all feeling great. Welcome to another day of learning opportunity. I am your science teacher, Ma'am Laika Bel Peralta. Tara na, makinig at matuto upang ikaw ay maging mahusay. Let's enjoy today's science dosage. At the end of our lesson, you are expected to
Define eclipse. Compare and contrast lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. And explain how lunar eclipse and solar eclipse occur using models.
go to your study place and I advise you to take down notes as our discussion commences. Our previous discussion is about seasons, how they occur and how they change. Now to refresh our mind about our previous topic, let's answer this complete me activity. Choose words inside the box to make the answer to the question, why do seasons occur, correct? Yes, I know you can do it. Wow, you did great. Now, to start our discussion about eclipses, have you ever heard of Bakunawa? The Bakunawa is a serpent-like dragon in the Philippine mythology. It is believed to be the cause of eclipses, earthquakes, rains, and wind. In the beginning of time, the Bathala created 7 moons that shine so beautiful at night time. Because of their alluring brightness, the Bakunawa, who lives underwater, watched them every night until one day he was tempted to eat them. Every full moon, when the 7 moons are in their brightest phase, the Bakunawa planned to eat them one by one. He succeeded 6 times, but the people protected the last moon. People of the ancient times believed that every time the moon turns dark, the Bakunawa is trying to eat the moon. But actually, what they witness is an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. Eclipses have caused fear, inspired curiosity, and are associated with myths, legends, and superstitions throughout the history and across cultures. Some people believe that the sudden darkening of the sun during the day can cause bad luck. Bad events, just like earthquakes and wars, are coming. Also, some people say that the sudden darkening of the moon during the full moon is a sign that unfortunate events are about to come. In science, explanations must always be followed up by evidences. The moon being swallowed by the Bakunawa, or the increased number of harmful microorganisms during an eclipse, have been transferred from one generation to another. They also say that if you're going to look directly at the sun during a solar eclipse, can damage your eyes. Later on in our discussion, we are going to identify which of these beliefs is a fact or just a myth. So, what really is an eclipse? An eclipse happens when a heavenly body, just like moon or a planet, moves into the shadow of another heavenly body. Here on Earth, we are able to witness 2 kinds of eclipse. The first one is the lunar eclipse and the second second one is solar eclipse. Now, let's discuss what are the differences between these two eclipses. The moon moves in an orbit around Earth, and at the same time, Earth orbits the sun. Sometimes, Earth moves between the sun and the moon. When this happens, Earth blocks the sunlight that normally is reflected by the moon. This sunlight is what causes the moon to shine. Instead of light hitting the moon's surface, Earth's shadow falls on it. This is an eclipse of the moon, and we call it lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse only happens during full moon. And of course, we can only witness lunar eclipse at night. There are three types of lunar eclipses. The first one, we have total lunar eclipse. We also have the partial lunar eclipse. And the last one is the penumbral lunar eclipse. A total lunar eclipse occurs when the moon and the sun are on exact opposite sides of Earth. Although the moon is in Earth's shadow, some sunlight reaches the moon. The sunlight passes through Earth's atmosphere, which causes Earth's atmosphere to filter out most of the blue light. This what makes the moon appear red to people on Earth during a total lunar eclipse. This what makes the moon appear red to people on Earth during a total lunar eclipse. On the other hand, partial lunar eclipse happens when only part of the moon enters the Earth's shadow. In a partial eclipse, Earth's shadow appears very dark on the side of the moon, facing Earth. What people see from Earth during a partial lunar eclipse depends on how the sun, Earth, and moon are lined up. The penumbral lunar eclipse, on the other hand, happens when the moon moves through the faint outer shadow of the Earth, called the penumbra. This type of eclipse is not as dramatic as other types of lunar eclipses and is often mistaken for a regular full moon. About 1 in 3 of all lunar eclipses are penumbral. It is impossible to observe the start and end of a penumbral lunar eclipse, even with telescopes. Now, let's talk about solar eclipse. Have you ever witnessed a solar eclipse? How does it occur? Sometimes, when the moon orbits Earth, it moves between the sun and Earth. When this happens, the moon blocks the light of the sun from reaching Earth. This causes an eclipse of the sun, or solar eclipse. Solar eclipse, just like lunar eclipse, has also 3 types. We have the total solar eclipse, the partial solar eclipse, and the last one is the annular solar eclipse. Let's discuss them one by one. A total solar eclipse is only visible from a small area on Earth. The people who see the total eclipse are in the center of the moon's shadow when it hits Earth. The sky becomes very dark, as if it were night. For a total eclipse to take place, the sun, moon, and Earth must be in a direct line. A total solar eclipse is what happens in the movie of Nora Honor, Walang Himala. The second type of solar eclipse is a partial solar eclipse. This happens when the sun, moon, and Earth are not exactly lined up. The sun appears to have a dark shadow on only a small part of its surface. The third type is the annular solar eclipse. An annular eclipse happens when the moon is farthest from Earth. Because the moon is farther away from Earth, it seems smaller. It does not block the entire view of the sun. The moon in front of the sun looks like a dark disk on top of a large sun-colored disk. This creates what looks like a ring around the moon. Solar eclipses happen once every 18 months. And unlike lunar eclipses, solar eclipses only last for a few minutes. Okay. So, those are the two types of eclipses, the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. Now, in the beginning of our discussion, we have mentioned several superstitious beliefs associated with eclipses. Can you identify which of them is a fact and which one is only a myth? Good job! It is true that we must not look at the sun during a solar eclipse. Why? Because it might cause what we call eclipse blindness or retinal burn. Now, to assess how much you have learned from our discussion, please bring out your assessment in science and let's do the activity Complete Me. Complete the Venn diagram of lunar eclipse and solar eclipse by choosing the right words inside the box. Yes, you can do it! Wow! You did well! Do not forget to submit your answer sheet in the given day of retrieval. You know that eclipses are just few of the wonderful phenomena that occurs because of the movement of heavenly bodies. In this part, I want to know your answer in this question. In a separate one whole sheet of paper, please write your answer and please submit it on the given day of retrieval together with your assessment. And to assess today's learning, let's answer the short multiple choice activity. You did well. Alam kong ikaw ay nakinig at natuto, kaya ikaw ngayon ay naging mahusay. Again, I am your science teacher, Laika Valer Peralta, and thank you for being with me in today's science dosage.